There's a new way to Sweet Green. Meet Wraps. Handheld, hearty, and made for life on the move. With bold, chef-crafted flavors, fresh ingredients, and over 40 grams of protein, they're built to satisfy without slowing you down. Try Wraps today in the app or at order.sweetgreen.com. Available at all participating locations.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. You know those friends who support your preference for podcasts over music on road trips? That's the energy State Farm brings to insurance. With over 19,000 local agents, they help you find the coverage that fits your needs, so you can spend less time worrying about insurance and more time enjoying the ride. Download the State Farm app or go online at statefarm.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
They say you should learn something new every day. Like how you should only drink Jägermeister at 0 degrees Fahrenheit, ice cold. Like those frozen cavemen they find, which makes you wonder, what would a caveman think of Jägermeister? Well, if you served it warm, he'd probably throw it in your face, say, "Unga boonga," and storm off. And nobody wants that. So drink it cold or not at all. Jägermeister. Damn, that's cold. Drink responsibly. Jägermeister liqueur, 35% alcohol by volume, imported by Mast Jägermeister, U.S., White Plains, New York.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Selling your car should feel like one less thing on your list, not one more. With Carvana, it is. Just go to Carvana.com, enter your license plate or VIN, and get a real offer down to the penny. No back and forth, no surprises, just an experience you can trust. Like your offer? Accept it. Schedule pickup, and we'll come to you with a check in hand. Your car, your timeline, your terms. Visit Carvana.com to sell your car today.
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
Hey there, Duke fans. Welcome to DBR Bites, Duke Basketball Roundup, Bites edition number 164. Jason and Donald here with you. It is midday on a Wednesday. Midday, it's late in the afternoon, I guess. 4 o'clock, 4:15 on a Wednesday afternoon. Donald, how you doing today? You know what? Before we get to the stuff we're going to be talking about on this episode, you spent the weekend at the Kentucky Derby. We heard a little bit about it on the stuff we recorded late last week. Tell me a little bit more. And by the way, folks, I wish you could see the fit that Donald was sporting at the Kentucky. Dude, you looked fabulous.
Well, thank you. I told you I was going to rock them. I got the pink going on the
It was
Oaks.
awesome.
The Derby outfit for Saturday I thought was my favorite one, with the hat and everything. My dad loved it, so it was cool. I will say this: first of all, the actual race was simply incredible.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
I have video, Jason, because we basically situated ourselves. Me and my buddy. My buddy goes to a bunch of horse races, so he took me to the Derby and the Oaks. And so for the first day, we kind of went around the infield, kind of piecing together where we wanted to sit. We ended up finding a spot on the final turn, essentially that final little turn where you could see the horses enter the turn. You could see the horses in the middle of the turn. You could kind of see them exit the turn. You could even see some of the starts from where we were. So we had a great spot. For the race, for the Derby race, I have video of all the horses passing us on the curve. I do not have Golden Tempo because Golden Tempo at that point was in last place. I just got enough where I was like, okay, cool. I got most of the horses. Let me look at the finish and kind of turn towards this Jumbotron to kind of see the finish because we were blocked from the actual finish line. And wow, what an incredible race. What an incredible weekend. Really enjoyed going back. That was my second Kentucky Oaks. It was my first Kentucky Derby. So a lot of fun. My friend is actually doing all the Triple Crown, so he'll be in town in a couple weeks for the Preakness. I'm not going with him to the Preakness. I have stuff to take care of, and it's also not at Pimlico this year, so I want to go when it's at the main track. But what a great weekend.
Oh, hold on. I had no idea. They're not doing the Preakness. Is there construction or something? What's going on?
Yeah, Pimlico's undergoing renovations, so it's
Okay.
at Laurel Park, which is just down the road. It's actually closer to me than Pimlico is. I've never been to Pimlico, so I said my first Preakness, I will want it to be at the track because if people have heard about the Preakness and the infield at the Preakness, it is nothing short of a muddy mosh pit. I've never wanted to be a part of it because I don't want to get you see my fit, Jason. That's not going to look good in mud. But if it's a nice day, maybe you'll see me at the Preakness one day.
I like it. All right, maybe let's get to a little bit of Duke news now. People are like, what the hell are they talking about horse racing for?
Horses. Also, Jason, I will say I had Renegade to finish show, so I did get some money out of the whole thing. I left with as much money. I think I was up $4 for the entire weekend. So entertainment value sorted.
So as we get to the Blue Devils really quickly, and there's not, folks, let's be very clear, there's not a ton of news going on right now with the team, but we did get a new commitment. We got a new member of the Duke Blue Devil family committed over the weekend. And Donald, we've mentioned this guy a little bit. We mentioned, not in great depth, but we said that he was visiting and that he might make an interesting practice addition. And his name is Jacob Theodosiou. I'm not sure. Probably Theodosiou. He played, I butchered it, not Loyola Marymount, Loyola Maryland for the past couple of years, averaged better than 13 points per game last season for Loyola Maryland. A dude who's hit 31% of his 3-pointers on his career, which is, not a great number, not awful, not terrible. By the way, he was at Loyola for 2 seasons after playing very sparingly as a freshman at Wisconsin. This dude is going to be a veteran presence in the locker room for Duke. He's a senior. Unclear, if the NCAA passes this 5-and-5 rule, he might be someone who's around for a couple of years. He's going to take the Cameron Sheffield kind of role. Of a guy who's been around college basketball for a while, able to help some of the youngsters with exactly how the game works and, the kind of prep and the focus that you need to have on the game, but not someone who is expected to be involved in the regular rotation at all. I will say, Donald, one thing about him. First of all, it should be noted, apparently he's a lifelong Duke fan. That
I was going to mention that. Yeah, his dad had mentioned that he was that this was a dream school of his. He didn't say necessarily to play basketball. He just said it was a dream school for him to attend, which I think is funny. And just a note, I believe you said Wisconsin for his freshman year. It was Wyoming. I know you you might have had Blackwell on the mind, but it was Wyoming. I said
Wisconsin, really?
You said Wisconsin, but John Blackwell is on our minds. So that is fair. That is what.
Look, I had him play at Loyola Marymount last time. Now I'm having him play at Wisconsin. Yeah, whatever. It's all over the place.
We're just going to mention all the schools in Division I until we get it right.
I do want to note, because we're talking about this kid as a practice player, I think he's going to be a really good defensive presence in practice. Now, look, for the most part, we've mentioned the fact that the Duke has 11 guys who expect to be in the rotation. Maxime Mayer is there as a 12th guy. And then you basically get to the Jacob Theodosiou. So I don't know how much practice time he's going to get playing against the regulars, but when he's in there, he's going to be a pest, Donald. If you look at this guy's stats, if you look at what Jacob Theodosiou was, he led Loyola in steals in each of the past 2 seasons. He actually had a top 25 steal rate nationally, among all players in the country. Now, look, I know he's playing in a Patriot League team. It's not the same level of competition, all that other kind of stuff, but he's a dude who knows how to be a pest and cause problems for you on defense. And I think, that could be a really valuable thing for this Duke team, for some of the younger, for like a Ron, for Duran Rippey, guys like that. To have someone who's just in your grill all the time and really making life difficult for you, you need to learn how to play against those kind of guys. And I think he'll be very, very valuable for Duke in that regard. Again, I just don't. I think he understands, even though he was a significant player in the Patriot League, even though he was a guy who's been a starter the past couple of years and played major minutes, he knows that's not his role at Duke. But I think he's perfectly fine with it and probably is super excited to be part of a team that is going to compete for a national title.
I think the other thing, Jason, is John Shire clearly wants guys who are going to compete. He is going to compete, whether it's for minutes in practice, whether it's for minutes at the end of blowout games, whether it's break in case of emergency, whatever his role ends up being. And sure, we have a good understanding of what we think it will be, but the competition part is what makes all that kind of up in the air, so to speak, where sure, we had games where we had blowouts and we got Jack Scott and Cam Sheffield for 20 seconds. We had some games where they played for 8 minutes, right? Like we have these opportunities where he's going to be able to play. And the theory is if we play well as a unit, he's preparing those guys to play well enough that he gets in the game later on, right? So I think the best part about this is, sure, you have 13 guys at practice. You're going to need subs. You're going to have a combination that you're trying out. And also when you're scouting out a particular opponent, you have a guy at 6'4", right? A 6'4" guard who is big enough to basically mimic anybody in the ACC or anybody that we might be able to play. Now, I'll also say, Jason, despite the fact that we have a few guys under 6'5" now, we're still at an average height of 79.3 inches, which is 6 foot 7.3 inches. Do you know, Jason, what our average height was last year as a team?
Give it to me, baby.
79.3 inches. It's exactly the same. We have not shrunk a millimeter. So that's cool with me. I like the fact that we're still going to be big. But again, getting back to Theodosiou, he's going to be able to mimic whoever we end up playing and kind of get our guys ready. And at the same time, compete for those minutes, because at the end of the day, it's what you do in practice that gets you those moments, whether they be 20 seconds or whether they be 8 to 12 minutes.
And I'll reiterate again something that I said on a podcast earlier that I just want folks to sort of think about with this transfer. When you sort of go, how could a guy who was a starter and averaged 13 points per game be coming to Duke to just be a practice player? Well, if he has an eye on a career in basketball, whether it be as an agent, as a scout, as someone else working in a front office, as a coach, as a trainer, there are a ton of jobs surrounding both college and professional basketball in the U.S. and elsewhere. Being at Duke for a year or two is a big, big, big step forward in terms of landing those jobs and getting noticed. And I think it just makes a ton of sense for him to be, on the Blue Devils in this sort of less significant role than what he would have had if he'd gone to a lot of other Division I schools.
And he's going to get, again, he gets to live out his dream, right? If his dad is correct, that he gets to live out his dream of going to Duke University, graduating with a Duke degree, and also playing for Duke basketball. He gets the exposure of being like, we're a school that remembers our walk-ons. We remember everybody who's on the teams, right? Like, the Spencer Hubbards and the J. Robs of the world are the most famous of these guys, but we remember, the Antonio Vrankovics of the world, right? We remember those guys. Remember the Stanley Bortons.
We do.
Those are our guys. And so he gets to have that exposure. And Jason, last bit, I don't know how much this is important to him, but I promise you if he makes $1, he's probably making more NIL money than he did at Loyola, Maryland. But also when we talk about some of the things we're going to talk about, he's going to have that opportunity to get NIL opportunities that he wouldn't get elsewhere even as a starter in some of these cases, because he's at Duke and he has the machine behind him that can give him these opportunities for him to step in and use that exposure to benefit in a financial payday, whatever big or small that may be.
Yep, exactly. By the way, I wanted to mention that when he committed, he specifically shouted out Mike Schrage on the Duke staff, who's not an official assistant coach. Mike, of course, is a special assistant to the head coach, I believe, is Mike's title. It's one of those jobs that is sort of around the sport. Mike obviously used to be head coach at Elon,
and was on the bench for Coach K for a long time too.
Yeah, exactly. A very successful career on college benches, and I think it's sort of interesting that Mike apparently kind of took the lead in bringing Jacob onto into the Duke program, and maybe Jacob is trying to track a similar kind of path. Would not be surprising at all. All right, we're going to take a quick break. On the other side, going to talk a little bit of NBA stuff. And a little bit of what's the Big Ten up to here? The Big Ten pissed off at the ACC and Amazon? We'll tell you about it in just a moment.
Comcast is delivering extraordinary experiences in live sports through the incredible broadcast and storytelling from NBC, innovative and personalized viewing features on Xfinity and Peacock, and the country's most reliable Wi-Fi. Viewers can enjoy every game-changing play faster and more seamlessly than ever, all on a network built to deliver unforgettable moments as close to live as possible. The ultimate experience for the American sports fan. Learn more at ComcastCorporation.com/sports.
It's time to refresh your yard during spring backyard days at the Home Depot. Get low prices guaranteed on propane grills starting at $179, like the Next Grill 3-burner gas grill. Or get $50 off a select Weber Spirit Grill and bring big flavor to your backyard. Then set the scene with Hampton-based string lights that bring it all together. Shop spring backyard days for 7 days at the Home Depot, now through May 6th. Exclusions apply. See homedepot.com/price match for details.
Ready to soundtrack your summer? With Red Bull Summer All Day Play, you choose a playlist that fits your summer vibe the best. Are you a festival fanatic, a deep end DJ, a road dog, or a trail mixer? Just add a song to your chosen playlist and put your summer on track. Red Bull Summer All Day Play. Red Bull gives you wings. Visit redbull.com/brightsummer ahead to learn more. See you this summer.
Experience a membership that backs what you're building with American Express Business Platinum. Get 2 times membership rewards points per dollar on eligible purchases in key business categories, as well as on each eligible purchase of $5,000 or more, on up to $2 million in eligible purchases per calendar year. American Express Business Platinum. There's nothing like it. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum.
You can't reason with the sun. Trust us, we've tried. This summer, it's time to put that angry ball of fire on mute. Columbia's Omni-Shade technology is engineered to protect you from the sun's harsh rays that can burn and damage your skin. The sun is relentless, but so is our gear. Level up your summer at Columbia.com to spend more time outside and less time slathering on aloe lotion. You're welcome. Columbia, engineered for whatever.
All right, we're back from the break. It's Jason and Donald, DBR podcast. Donald, first thing I want to let's get to the big Duke Amazon deal for the 3 basketball games. And there's been a little wrinkle that's come up, and folks have probably heard about this, but if you haven't, we will go ahead and fill you in. The Big Ten said, right after Duke announced these 3 games against UConn, Michigan, and Gonzaga, the Big Ten, which owns Michigan's broadcast rights. Let's be very clear. The way these things work, maybe you make a deal with Michigan, but you're making a deal with Michigan, and Michigan then has to make a deal with the Big Ten. The Big Ten said, hang on a second, you're not allowed to broadcast the Duke-Michigan game, the game that in MSG. They said, you're not allowed to broadcast. That belongs to us. You weren't allowed to take that and sell it off to Amazon. Donald, what's your feeling on this? Do you think that there's a possibility this could really disrupt the Duke Amazon contract?
No. I think there will be.
You are correct, sir.
Yeah, I think there will be some negotiation. There may be some extra money that gets thrown around here, but in the end, they're going to be okay with this. Here's what it is right now. The Big Ten is basically saying that, hey, they want to get their properties too, and they have their territories that overlap with other conferences like the ACC. And they say that New York, because of Rutgers being there, this is what they did when they expanded and included Rutgers and Maryland. They said they wanted to bring in the DC market and the New York market. So it's an overlapping market because it's also ruled to be that of the Big East and the ACC. So when Duke played Illinois a couple years ago at the Garden, that game was on Fox, and we basically made the deal and said, hey, this game, you'll air this one, and then we're going to have one next year in DC, which is also an overlapping market, but it's going to be ESPN that gets to host that. That was the
Illinois and the Michigan games, yes.
So now they're saying, okay, we're ping-ponging back and forth, so the next one's ours, right? This is where it gets a little tricky because, first of all, the Big Ten's beef is not with Duke or even Amazon. It's with ESPN. Because they're basically saying ESPN has sublicensed a game that they didn't have the control over, that they should have the control over. And if Fox wants to sublease it to somebody else, then they'd be able to do that. Even if they did, even if they had this problem, the team they need to consult is Michigan. Because if they own Michigan's games, then Michigan should have been like, hey, yo, we got to go clear this to Fox first. This sounds great. Let us chit chat with Fox and make sure this is all cool on our end, and then we're good to go. And they did. You know why? Because Michigan likes money too. And the guaranteed money that they're getting from this, the minimum $500,000 payout, the NIL opportunities, this is something that Michigan did not want to miss out on if the Big Ten and Fox decide to raise a stink like they're doing right now. They'd say, let's ask for forgiveness rather than permission, right? That's what they're doing. So deep down, I also think, Jason, this opens up a little bit bigger of a conversation, because what ESPN is doing is basically saying, we're going to cede all the production rights, we're going to all the production costs, and let Amazon deal with all of that. And they also get this test phase. Duke gets this test phase of, will people pay money, a little bit extra money than they're paying right now, to watch a major Duke game against a major opponent, right? Like,
well, wait. Let's be clear. It's not that Amazon is going to charge people extra. It's, are you an Amazon Prime? Are you an Amazon Prime subscriber already? And I'll say really quickly, I don't think that Amazon expects to have a huge spike in people taking out Prime subscriptions as a result of this game. What I think Amazon wants, and this is what, Netflix is the same way. Once you subscribe, you feel like, hey, I'm getting real value for my subscription, and I'm not going to churn. I'm not going to bounce around between a bunch of different services. I'm going to keep this service, and I get value from it. And my value is, if it's Amazon Prime, my value is The Boys and other TV shows that Amazon Prime has, and it's the movies that they show, and it's the sports. So this is, again, it's not that Amazon's looking for specific subscriptions related to Duke. They may get some, but what they're really looking for is just the sense that your Amazon Prime, your Amazon Video subscription is a valuable thing to you, and you're happy to continue it because you get things like marquee sports events.
So I think it's a little bit of both, right? Because Amazon has the people that already have Prime, right? The people who use it just for shipping, that don't turn on the TV part.
Right.
It's like having a gym membership and not going, in a sense. And what they're seeing is, will people who have Prime already go, oh, I will turn on this Duke game and let's see what the numbers look like. If the numbers spike compared to a football game or an NBA game that's going to be on around the same time because they have NBA now, those sort of things. There's also the test of the people who don't have Prime at all, right? We got an email from a listener who, rightly pointed out that there's some people who are avoiding Amazon for many reasons, compared based on their labor practices and other things that they are kind of protesting. Will some of those people say, hey, at least for Duke, I'll pop over for a month? Will they go to bars? Will they go to restaurants that already have Amazon Prime in there? Will you get a boost in business? Those sort of things are what Amazon has to pay, essentially, a little extra to kind of figure out, while ESPN just kind of says, let's see if this does. Because deep down, if it does work, what this really sets up, it's not even for the Big Ten. The Big Ten may do that with Fox, but Fox doesn't have the reach of ESPN. What it's really going to cut into is college football. When you have the SEC teams like Alabama, Texas, Georgia, Florida, basically half of the SEC who thinks that they are a marquee matchup, they're going to be trying to do the same things. And they're going to be asking for way more money because obviously it's 1 out of 12 as opposed to 1 out of 30. So I think that is where ESPN gets this free flyer on whether this works. If it doesn't, hey, no harm, no foul. Duke gets their money. They, Amazon is the one that's losing out in a sense, but they kind of go, okay, it didn't work for the way we wanted to. All good. ESPN gets us in a marquee tournament of some sort in the next 2 years as a result. So I think we were talking about this. You might see us in one of these multi-team events next year and the year after. You might see us in the Coaches vs. K Classic because that was what they worked out. So ESPN gets even more of us for something like that. So it's an easy thing for ESPN. What the Big Ten has to do is go to, basically have Fox go to ESPN and go, look, guys, let's work this out. Maybe some extra money changes hands. and that'll be that. Or again, Fox gets something cut out where Michigan has to do something with Fox in a similar fashion because, hey, Michigan wants to be a part of this too. And if this works for them, guess what they're going to do next year? They're going to try and do the same thing with Fox and try and sublease this to something else so that they can get a marquee matchup and Fox gets the money.
Yeah, look, we all need to be prepared for a shift happening before our very eyes in how we access sports programming. Donald, I'm old enough to remember when there was outrage and anger that there were college basketball, college football, all kinds of different games appearing on cable. And people were like, wait.
ESPN, yeah.
They were like, wait, ABC, CBS, NBC, in my local independent, what the hell? I've got to, if I want to watch my team, if I want to watch this big game or whatever, it's on this cable network. It's on TBS or ESPN. Because by the way, TBS I'm vaguely remembering, I didn't do the research on that. I'm vaguely remembering there was a really big game on TBS, like I'm going to say in the 90s.
TBS used to have the Braves every day, right? Like WGN, for at least in Detroit, we could get that over the air. So we got the Cubs, but for TBS and TNT, when they had the Braves, that was a big test. And rest in peace to Ted Turner, who founded CNN, right? He just passed away today.
Yeah.
I know that was a big deal on your network, Jason, at work.
Yeah. I've got some Ted Turner memories.
Yeah, but he kind of started this of like, what will people tune into my network to watch this team? And in the same breath, he made the Braves a national team, right? In baseball, when
America's
everything
team.
was
Yeah.
very reasonable. So it's going back to that, where even that raised the stink, but people got used to it, and then people, dare I say, liked it, so they wanted more of it. And so that's how we now have streaming platforms for every single channel now, and you have to figure out which one is on, and you have to have your calendars with everything switching around. That's why the CW has basically said, hey, ain't nobody watching for us. Let's partner with ESPN so we can get those games on the ESPN Plus so that more people will watch our stuff if they don't have a CW affiliate where they live. Like it's all going back to the money.
Yeah, right. And my point in all this, again, is that it may feel weird and strange right now streaming. What the hell? But it's coming, folks.
Hey, in soccer, I've been trying to figure out which streaming stuff. I've been working for basically 2 decades now. So
Exactly. All right. So last topic we're going to have here, we want to talk a little bit about some Dukies in the NBA, because there's some guys who are currently playing in the NBA playoffs or just wrapped up their stint in the NBA playoffs. And we just wanted to very, very quickly, sort of shout them out and talk about some of what they did. Donald, I want to start with Paulo Banchero, who had a really weird 7-game series against your Detroit Pistons.
Mm-hmm.
Paulo, like, every other game was great.
He had some terrific performances. It was wow.
Look, game 5 of the series, he had 45 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. That is unbelievable. Game 7, 38 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. I mean, Paulo was just so great at times. Now, he also had some games, like game 6, he shot 4 of 20 from the field, only scored 17 points. Ouch. Game 4, 4 of 18 from the field, only scored 18 points in that game. So he had some games where he struggled, but boy, when Paulo was on, he was outstanding, and he just needed a little more help from his teammates. So I think the overall impression I got was this guy is for sure a star in the making, if not a star already. And there are a lot of people who are talking, they're already sort of looking ahead to the 2028 Olympics, and they're already sort of saying, like, Paulo's going to be one of the starters on that team.
He should be there. He was a snub in a way. Now, I wouldn't say a snub, but he was one of the first guys cut last guys cut, I should say, from that 2024 team. And a lot of people were like, wow, see, now he's going to go play for Italy, who he's also eligible to play for. But it seems like now there's going to be a seismic shift, and you see guys like Paulo work their way into it. I'll shout out, again, watching that whole series, I'll shout out Wendell Carter Jr. because I thought he had a great series. He made Jalen Duren look like dirt for 6 of the 7 games. And so the Magic were a tough team. They played up to what people thought their potential was going to be when they got Desmond Bane. And I think the Pistons, that game 6, Jason, is where it turned around. I mean, sure, the Pistons won game 5, but being down 24 points and coming back to win by 14,
crazy.
that was the end of it. That was the end of it. And now they're facing the Cavs, so they're facing Tyrese and company. And thankfully we won game 1 last night, and we're still dancing here in Detroit, which is great.
I also want to mention RJ Barrett, who I thought had a really, really nice series for Toronto in their first round series against Cleveland. In the 7-game series, he scored 20+ points in 6 of the 7 games. The one game he didn't, he got 18. He averaged 24 points per game in that series. So that's really good production from RJ. And then there are a couple Dukies who are still alive, both Luke Kennard and Jared McCain. Now, Luke Kennard, he's been struggling with his shot for the Lakers, in recent weeks in the playoffs so far. And just the Laker rotations and such, I'm not sure Luke's going to play a ton for them. And Jared McCain, Oklahoma City, loaded. But man, OKC was doing pretty well in their game. And Jared got some time, hit 4 out of 5 3-pointers, scored in double figures. In a game where there wasn't a lot of scoring, Jared was, instant offense off the bench. Now, I don't know. He's probably still just outside like that, that core 8-9 man rotation. He's just barely, I think, outside that, but maybe they find a spot for him. It sure looks like Jared McCain can contribute to that. Just what Oklahoma City needs, another guy who can shoot 3-pointers.
Yeah. And they're doing that. They've won 6 in a row dating back to last season. In the NBA Finals, they've won 6 straight playoff games. The fact that they are so loaded, and Jared McCain, who they traded for, remember midseason, still gets burned, and he's kind of that guy that helps pace the 3-pointing on their second unit, I think is terrific for him. I'll just also shout out Jason. I know we're going to talk about a couple more of these series, but I'm looking at 16 teams, and only 3 of them didn't have players or personnel on them, which I think is terrific. And even the Pistons, is led by Trajan Langdon in the front office, and with the Lakers, I'm sorry, you didn't even mention the fact that they have a whole coaching staff that's all Dookie, right? You had Luke Kennard, but of course JJ is the head coach, Lindsey Harding is an assistant coach, and J Rob is a personal assistant or a special assistant. So the fact that there's a lot of Dookie, there's still some Dookies playing basketball. There's still some Dookies making decisions about the teams that are still playing basketball. Is in the NBA, I thought the first round was fun to watch, especially this past weekend with 3 Game 7s in the Eastern Conference. It was just it's been fascinating thus far, and I feel like the best basketball has yet to kind of materialize in some of these teams. So I'm looking forward to all of it.
Yeah, obviously, we didn't mention Jason Tatum. He got hurt in Game 6 for the Celtics, and then the Celtics couldn't hold on, and they lost that series in 7 to Toronto, and sorry, not to Toronto, to
the Sixers.
To the Sixers, yeah, whoever the hell it was. So I'm sure that was a huge bummer for Jason, as hard as he worked to come back and be able to contribute to the Celtics down the stretch, and then the idea was to really be ready there in the playoffs. Terrible, break for him, but I'm betting he'll be back full strength next year. I've got him on my fantasy team. I drafted him and kept him on the injured list all season long because we have a keeper league, and he will 100% be my keeper for next season for sure.
Look, the fact that he came back, what was it, like mid-March, with the combination of treatment, science, wizardry, Mr. Miyagi's hand rub thing, that he does to magically cure Daniel LaRussa. Like, he had all of that in his bag. And like, just a part of me, like, I love watching him play. I think I've said this. I hate the Celtics. I don't, we grew up hating the Celtics, but I love Jason Tatum. So I love watching him play. Part of me is like, this might be a blessing for him because he gets to continue to fully get back to square one. And I'm sorry to the entire NBA next season, because he is going to be a monster coming back at full strength after what he already did to get to this point and come back and lead them to the brink. lead them. I'm just looking forward to watching him play again, fully healthy, and hopefully he has able to rest and recover and do all the things necessary to be ready for next year.
Hey, last thing I wanted to give folks really quickly about Dukies in the NBA. The Athletic put out a survey. They surveyed 151 NBA players. They probably sent out the survey to way more than that. They probably sent it out to virtually the entire league, but they got 151 responses, which is a pretty decent sample size. That's a lot of NBA players. And they asked them some, key questions. And among the questions were, who's the most underrated player in the league? And the guy who tied for first as the most underrated player in all the NBA is former Dookie Jalen Johnson. I know there are people out there who are going to go, Jalen, I don't want to get into that debate right now, but you're silly. He's a member of the Brotherhood. He considers himself a member of the Brotherhood. Duke considers him a member of the Brotherhood. Period. End of story. Can we just end this debate right now? And we should celebrate the fact that Jalen Johnson of the Atlanta Hawks is considered one of the most underrated players in all of the NBA. And it's interesting. There are a couple other Dukies on the list, that various players around the league said, yeah, that guy's really underrated. Brandon Ingram made the list, and so did Cooper Flagg. I was really surprised to see Cooper on the. Now he's a little bit further down, but he's like top 20 or so underrated because there's so much hype surrounding Cooper. Winning Rookie of the Year, number one draft, first pick in the draft, guy that people have been hearing about for years and years. For a guy like that to make most underrated really says something to me. It means to me that there are some players in the NBA who saw what Cooper did this year and were really, really impressed.
I was going to say, I'm actually not surprised to see him on the underrated list. I know, like you said, he was further down, but it's that reason. I'm sure people were like, let me see if this hype is real. And after they played them, they went, oh boy, is it ever real? My bad. Like I thought he was, I thought he was good, but my bad. He's excellent, right? You mentioned that 2028 team, right? Paulo and Cooper Flagg, and maybe even like a Con Kneppel could sneak on that team. There's a lot of guys here, that young guys who are staking their claim. And to me, that's why the NBA is so much fun to watch. I know some people have the debates whether they can, they prefer college basketball to the NBA. I love both. I love all basketball. I'm a ball watcher. I'm a ball knower. And watching how those guys have played and earning the respect of their peers is a very difficult thing to do. And for Cooper Flagg to come in with this generational wave behind him and only impressed everybody is a really, really, dangerous thing, because now he's only going to get better. So it's very fun to see those guys on the list and to see guys like Brandon Ingram still getting the respect from his teammates and from his peers.
Alongside the most underrated, they also, of course, the Athletic asked about the most overrated player. The guy who won that category was Alperen Sengun, or whatever the hell you pronounce his last name, Sengun. The center for the Houston Rockets, Rudy Gobert, is on that list. Trae Young, formerly of the Hawks, now of Washington. And I unfortunately must report about a Dookie. Paulo Banchero made the list of the most overrated players. He's fifth on the list of the most overrated players in the NBA. Like I said, dude looked great at times, but at other times he didn't in the playoffs. So I don't know, maybe it's justified. And then I also wanted to mention really quickly, they asked about most impressive coach other than your own coach. Everybody's gonna be like, oh, the guy's coaching me. But they asked most impressive coach and least impressive coach. And both JJ Redick and Quinn Snyder showed up on the most impressive coach list. They weren't at the very top, but they were in there. There are at least guys in the league who are saying, yeah, those dudes are really, really impressive coaches. On the other hand, JJ also made the list of the least impressive coaches.
I was gonna say I was waiting for the duality of JJ Redick.
Yeah, exactly. So I just wanted to mention those things. Now that we're into May, Donald, you and I are going to start spending a little more time looking ahead, like to the NBA draft, to NBA stuff, what's happening in the league, because college basketball's slowing down a little bit. Yeah, there's still guys committing out of the portal and international guys and things like that. Probably at some point in the next couple of weeks, Donald, I think we're going to try and have a real look at sort of how some other ACC teams did in the portal and in terms of putting their teams together, that kind of stuff. We got more content, even though it's sort of slowing down for Duke, and we got a good sense, I think, of what the Duke team is going to be this year.
And Jason just jinked it, so we're going to get 3 more portal additions to this team. We're going to get a new head coach. We're going to get a new assistant coach, I should say, added to, because we're still waiting on that. That's obviously going to be something that we're going to keep a close eye on. In knowing John Shire, he can go in a multitude of ways, right? He can go to the NBA. He can go to a fellow guy in college. He can reach for some experience. He can stay within the Brotherhood. I'm very fascinated to see who he gets to replace Evan Brads. And so, we're just going to be sticking around. You guys should stay tuned. You guys should keep it locked on our forums. Subscribe, tell your friends about us. You never know when Jason and I are going to pop up like, we got news, because apparently it pops up out of the weeds, and then all of a sudden it's just a faucet that you can't turn off.
There you go. Exactly. Until the news faucet turns on again, he is Donald. I am Jason, and this is the Duke Band playing us out and taking us home.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.